So the other day against Nottingham Forest, Manchester United were pretty dismal, for lack of a better word. They really were pretty terrible. However, I do believe that most people would agree there was one shining light, and that was the return of this man here, Amad Diallo. These were his first minutes since playing for Sunderland last season in the playoffs. He hasn't played since then in terms of competitive football. He's played in pre-season, but not competitive football. So considering this is a player lacking sharpness, I thought he had a really good cameo, and of course it's got everyone talking. How good is he? How good can he be for Manchester United? Does he deserve a spot in the starting 11 ahead of Antony on the right wing? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss today. His strengths, his weaknesses, where he fits in, all of that good stuff. But before we can do that, I want to focus on his performance against Forest. And we'll start off with the stats. Now, there's nothing particularly special in these stats, but we can see here good ball retention. 22 touches, 89% pass accuracy, which is 17 out of 19 passes completed, but also hard working, 3 ball recoveries, 2 ground duels won, and also that bit of creativity in the final third with 1 key pass in just 36 minutes. So those are pretty decent numbers, but to really understand his performance, we have to go actually look at the clips, and we're going to do this using Want Video Analyzer Pro, a really good video analysis software, which you guys can check out using the link in the description down below. So we've got Amad Diallo here on the right wing, and we can see Aaron Wan-Bissaka in a more tucked in position, and he's going to play the ball out wide to Amad. And like I said, I felt like what we saw in this game was all the positives of Amad Diallo. Really all of his strengths captured at once. So we're going to see close control, we're going to see pass and move football, but we're also going to see decisiveness in the final third. So this first clip is all about passing and moving, and there's going to be a few like this. So he receives the ball, takes a couple of touches, nothing fancy here. But what he does is he works himself a little bit of room, plays the ball up the line to Bruno Fernandes. Now what we see a lot of United players do in these situations is play the ball and then just kind of stand there, watch the work that they've done and not really do anything else. But Amad Diallo isn't really that sort of player. He's someone who is always on the move. So he passes the ball, he moves. He passes the ball, he moves again. That is something he is always doing. If you watch him, he's always moving about. And we can see that in this clip here. So he plays the ball to Bruno Fernandes, and then his first thought is how can I make the run outside of Bruno Fernandes? How can I make the run round him to open up the pitch even more? Now on this occasion he doesn't get the ball back, but it's good movement showing a positive intent. And like I said, this was something that we continue to see throughout the game. But something else we saw was tight control. So this is from the throw-in from the right-hand side coming into the feet of Amad. And what we're going to see is that as he gets the ball under control, Nottingham Forest close him down. This is 3 players quickly converge in on him, giving him absolutely no space on the ball. But Amad trusts his own ability, he trusts his first touch, is willing to have that physical contact with the defender, brings the ball down, and then plays a pretty intelligent pass for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Again, this is nothing exceptional, but it's just good ball retention. He protects the ball well, moves the ball onto someone else. That's good wing play. Again, for his first competitive minutes of the season, I was quite impressed with what I saw. But it is going to get better. And this is a particular clip which I liked. Sorry if you guys just heard a load of music there. So, Amad Diallo is going to receive the ball wide on the right-hand side. He gets the ball and looks to play on the turn. That's the first thing he does. He gets the ball out of his feet, gets himself in space, moving inside onto his left foot. Now what he's going to do is pass and move. Something we're all taught as a kid when you're playing football. Pass the ball, then make the next movement. United actually struggle with this quite a lot. Antony doesn't really do it. Rashford doesn't do it massively. Even Garnacho doesn't really. Amad Diallo, that's his bread and butter. It's what he does all day long. And we see it here. So he's going to pass the ball into Marcus Rashford and make the next run, like so. So he passes the ball into Rashford, and now he's looking to burst around his defender. The defender, of course, is facing the wrong way, so physically can't move as quick as what Amad can if he has good acceleration, which he does on this occasion. So the ball goes into Rashford. Rashford plays a good pass, lays it back off to Amad Diallo, who now attacks the space. Amad then takes a couple of good touches, driving away from his opponent, getting his body between ball and the opposition to keep the ball for his side. But he isn't finished there. He then does another similar movement, passes the ball to Christian Eriksen, I believe this is, and then once again makes the run in behind. Pass and move football. When you do this in tight areas and your players are close to each other, it can really lead to some beautiful moments on a football pitch. Now again, on this occasion, it doesn't quite. Amad doesn't actually get the ball again, but again we can see that intent of get the ball, pass it to someone else and move again. I think it's something United need to do a lot more. A lot of the time the United attack is very stale. Amad is a player which doesn't really allow that to happen. Next clip, Amad Diallo receives on the right wing. Now again, his intention is, can I get this ball inside onto my left foot? Because he is quite a one-footed player. He can use his right foot. He's not like Antony in that way. He can use his right, but he certainly prefers his left. But I don't know if that's because he wants to use his left foot actually, or just because he wants to be inside the pitch. I'm not too sure. It would be interesting to see him play on the other side. But here, he gets the ball, takes a couple of touches, and now he looks to dart inside the pitch. And again, he's going to keep it pretty simple. He passes the ball to Bruno Fernandes. But again, He passes and then moves, knowing that he needs to get away from his opponent. He knows that he's quite a small guy, so if he's constantly in close contact with a defender, he's probably going to get shrugged off most of the time. Now this is a really, just a simple little detail, but it just shows a sharpness to his game. He releases the ball, and then his first thought is, I need to separate myself from this defender. Just half a yard, I just need to get away from this guy so that I can receive the ball again if I need to. If my mate Bruno Fernandes has nowhere else to go, I need to be an option. And as a result, he gets away from the defender, gets the ball, and then keeps things pretty simple going backwards. But again, it's just about being an option for your teammate. It's something he's done very well in this game. And then lastly, this one here. So he is going to receive a long switch. Now his first touch is very good. It nearly always is. Excellent technical player. But this is where I have question marks over Amad's game. Does he have the pace and the power to get himself 1 versus 1 against the fullback, separate himself from a fullback, and then cause problems? Well, actually, on this occasion he does. And what he does really well here is he keeps the ball close to his body the whole time. So if you watch, he takes lots of little touches. So he's shown his intention quite early here. He's attacking the fullback. But what he does is he takes lots of little touches. There's a touch here, and then what he's going to do is one big change of direction. Inside, cuts inside onto his left foot, ends up with a pretty poor shot at goal, but again you can see the intention and you can see the technical quality, looking to take on his man. Now like I said, that's an area of his game I have particular concern. I'm not sure if he's great out wide in 1 versus 1 situations. We'll have to see as he develops. But what I think we saw there was quite a nice summary of what he is good at. He is incredibly good at keeping the ball for his side. His pass retention is absolutely brilliant. In terms of if you want a winger to keep the ball for your side, allow you to slowly progress up the pitch with passing football and control a game, Amad Diallo is exactly that. Now, of course, the other side of that is that does mean he's not a particularly good transitioning forward. Again, he doesn't have the pace and the power and the stride length to really get away from players on the counter-attack. So that would be a concern. However, if we are to go back to his positives, low centre of gravity, ability to turn and receive the ball, turn 360 degrees, absolutely. Helped, of course, by a really good first touch. He then uses that low centre of gravity to get on the turn and beat players. And this is a really good thing for his team, because it gives him a natural pauser to the way that he plays, which means that when he gets the ball, he is happy for defenders to come in and close him down and try and be aggressive, because he backs his own ability. He backs his first touch, his control, but also importantly, his ability in tight spaces to get past these players. And of course, that's a huge bonus to your team. If you've got a player who can draw 2 or 3 players onto him and still beat them, it's going to create so much space for other people. Someone like Rasmus Højlund now has this space that he can attack, someone like Marcus Rashford as well. It's definitely a real plus side of Amad's game. Of course, importantly, he's also creative in the final third. We saw for Sunderland last season the amount of goals and assists he got for Sunderland in the Championship. He was a really important player in their promotion push. Of course, they didn't actually get promoted, but Amad certainly gave them a chance of getting promoted with his positive play in the final third. And that's obviously a really good balance to have, because we've spoken about his retention but also his creativity, and that suggests good intelligence, knowing when to keep the ball, when to slow it down with short passing, just safe passing really, maybe backwards to a fullback, to a central midfielder, to an attacking midfielder, keeping it simple. But he also knows when he needs to switch it on and be a bit more aggressive and go forward. So those are his strengths. The question is, how does that fit tactically at Manchester United? So we've now discussed his performance against Forest, some of his strengths as a player. Now we need to look at tactical fit. Does he fit this Manchester United side? This is where I have a few more concerns, because I think Amad Diallo is a player which excels in a team which controls the ball, uses narrow wingers, and looks to get players nice and close to each other, combining in the final third. And of course, United don't really do any of those things. United don't control games. We are quite a transitional side. We play very fast-paced games, lots of counter-attacks. Amad doesn't really suit that. Like I've said a couple of times, he doesn't really have the pace and power to carry the ball over 30, 40 yards in transition. It's not really his game. So that would be a little bit of concern. The other concern would be that United often play with quite wide wingers. The fullbacks often end up just kind of inverted just inside them, underlapping like this more often than not. Again, I don't think that suits Amad Diallo's game. I think he's got a similar problem in this aspect to someone like Anthony or even Jadon Sancho, where when they're out wide, again, they've got a little bit of skill to their game, but they don't have the raw physical attributes to actually get themselves away from the fullback. So even if they beat the fullback with a little bit of skill, in the Premier League, there are so many athletic fullbacks that 9 times out of 10 they're just going to get back. So that would be my concern with Amad. I think tactically he needs to play in a side which allows him to move into these areas. Moving into these areas, I think he's a serious talent with the world at his feet, and he could be a very good player if he can avoid injuries. It's just whether or not United are going to give him that environment. Now, there's a chance they do. For example, we could see Diallo play really high and wide down the right-hand side. That would still allow United to build with a back three. Perhaps not these personnel, but they could still do it. Rashford high and wide on the left. Perhaps Bruno Fernandes in the half space here. This sort of shape for United would give them a lot of quality and actually the potential to control games. With the passing of Kobbie Mainoo, Eriksen, Amad Diallo, there's a lot of technical quality there. And this is where you would get the best out of Amad. This is where I believe his long-term career is, in the half space. I think he can play out wide. And I think if you play him there, he'll do a job. But I don't think he's ever going to really push on his career as a wide player. Not in the top divisions. Not against the most physical, athletic, stubborn defences. I just don't really think he can do it. However, you get him moving inside into these areas where he can work in tight spaces, whereas close control is important, but also that pass and move football. It's a brilliant way to break down a low block. When there's lots of players behind the ball, if you can pass the ball to someone else and then make a movement, it's so difficult to track these movements off the ball. If I'm a defender, Amad Diallo is a nightmare to play against in these areas, because 1 minute he's over here, the next minute he's over there, he's constantly passing and moving. He can use both feet, he can dribble in tight spaces. It makes him a really good player in these areas. So that's my tactical concern with Amad Diallo. I think there's potential to be a really good player. I'm just not sure United are currently in the position to allow that to happen. If we look at him for Sunderland last season, we can see that he was allowed to move inside. So yes, he starts wide on the right hand side, but then he moves towards the edge of the penalty area, inside, where he can then create or shoot a goal. His ball striking, to be fair, absolutely brilliant, off both feet, which is quite impressive. But I'm not sure United currently provide that environment. So that's my concern over Amad Diallo. Is he a good player? Absolutely. Was his cameo against Forest impressive? Yeah, very much so. I thought in the short amount of time he was on the pitch, I thought he had a better impact than what Anthony did, for example, who played for much longer. So I certainly think Amad done himself, justice. He played well in that game. Hopefully he's going to get another chance against Wigan Athletic in the FA Cup. Hopefully that's another opportunity for him to play and we can judge him a little bit more. But at this moment in time, it's really difficult to say whether or not he should come into the starting 11. It's really difficult to say. But he's certainly got himself an opportunity now. He's 21 years old, so he's getting to that age where he needs to start breaking into the first team. Of course, players develop at different rates, but at 21 years old, you do want to be playing football on a regular basis. Not at youth level. He needs to be playing first team football regularly now. Hopefully, he's got an opportunity to do that. Played the other day, play against Wigan. Can he build himself a little bit of momentum? It's a big chance for him now, a big opportunity. Will he take it? We'll just have to wait and see. Overall, to kind of wrap up on the video, I think Amad Diallo is a wonderful talent. There's a reason United spent so much money on him a few years ago. Very intelligent, his IQ is absolutely brilliant. Very technical, a hard worker. He's got all the attributes to make it at the top level, but only in the right system. Will United provide that system? Not too sure. So, in terms of the video, we are finished there. If you have enjoyed it, make sure to like and also subscribe. I really want to hit 22,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I reckon we can do it. We're about 500 away, so if you could help with that, it would be greatly appreciated. But apart from that, we are finished there. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.